and welcome back to Football Made Simple. Arteta's rejuvenated Arsenal and Klopp's imperious Reds faced off in a match that had ramifications for the title race as well as Champions League qualification. In the end, it was Liverpool who came out on top, 2-0 thanks to goals by Jota and Roberto Firmino. The XG had the chance quality kind of even, but the XG time app shows that it was only really Firmino's goal that gave them the advantage. But what tactics did both managers use? Let's take a quick look. Just before then, my favorite fantasy football app is back and better than ever with a massive giveaway. For the next 3 match days in the Premier League, just by selecting a team on Spitch, if you're ranked in the top 10, you can win massive prizes like AirPods Pro, an Apple Watch 7, a holiday package, or even cash prizes up to €3,000. All you have to do is download Spitch through the link below for free and make a fantasy football team. The beauty of Spitch is that prizes are given on a week-by-week basis, so if you enter today, you have just as much chance of winning. And the point scoring in Spitch is great, as it's not just about goals and assists. Instead, passes, blocks, and interceptions count, so players in all positions are valuable. So for this week, my team looks like this. Make sure to download Spitch and join my Spitch community through the link below so that we can compete in the same league. Spitch is currently UK and Ireland only. We'll begin with Liverpool on the ball. When Liverpool had the ball in open play, Arsenal's defensive shape varied depending on the situation. It could be a 4-4-2 with Lacazette being joined by Odegaard, and Arsenal could either sit off in this shape, looking to stop play into Fabinho, or look to press Van Dijk and Matip to create a 2 versus 2. If Arsenal were pressing, to adhere to the +1 principle, we would see either Thiago or Fabinho drop into the backline to make it a 3 versus 2. And now, Arsenal could more aggressively back up this press, with Xhaka and Partey looking to push onto the pivots, helping to make central play more difficult for the Reds. But in the same phase, Liverpool liked to create their front 5 higher up, with either Trent high and Henderson deeper, or vice versa. The purpose of this would be to try and outnumber the backline in a 5 versus 4, as we have previously discussed. This makes life hard for the Arsenal centre-backs and full-backs, as if the full-back commits to a wide man, this channel is opened up. As if the centre-back follows, there is now a central gap open. However, if the full-back chooses to be narrow from the start, the wide man has space to receive, and Robertson and Trent are both great crossers, making this difficult. We actually see this in the first Liverpool goal. Arsenal are defending in a 4-4-2, with Odegaard high, and Thiago is deeper as the free man. Robertson is wide and Jota is in the half space, and Mane is centre forward. Cedric moves out wide, and that coupled with Mane's movement dragging Ben wide, opens up a gap in the half space. Thiago's excellent pass then finds Jota perfectly in the half space, who finishes, assisted by some poor goalkeeping. But Arsenal knew that Liverpool would line up like this, and for most of the game they were able to neutralise the front 5. This was due to the industriousness of Martinelli, and he would often track back into a left wing-back position, while Saka moved higher to create a narrow front 3 that made central progression difficult. So essentially, Arsenal were defending in a 5-2-3 that meant that the Liverpool front 5 each had a man on them. This did leave room in these wider midfield zones, and Trent in particular could operate in that region when Henderson was higher as part of the 5. And when he received, if there was any gap to be exploited, he had the time to look for the ball into the runner behind the defence. Lacazette would look to shift across to cover when possible though. But what happened when Arsenal were in possession? When Arsenal had the ball in open play, Liverpool did look to press higher, ending with the lower passes per defensive action. But Arteta's build-up shape helped Arsenal out in many situations. The fullbacks would begin low to be a potential outlet option, meaning Liverpool could not commit just 2 forwards to the press, but instead had to use 3 in order to cut out those outlet options. In addition, Partey was the single pivot, with Odegaard and Xhaka operating higher and wider as free 8s. so we often saw Henderson and Thiago commit to pressing these two midfielders higher, and normally, Fabinho as the free man would have been able to make it a 3 versus 3 or just cover the general space. However, Lacazette operated as a false 9 in the build-up, dropping deep to tie up Fabinho, so Arsenal effectively had a diamond. So, with the wide men holding their positions and forcing the fullbacks to remain deep, Odegaard here could be found with a penetrative pass and turn and look to combine with Saka. Or instead, Odegaard could make the run in behind while Saka dropped deeper. And it's important to note that in these phases, passes in behind were on, depending on Robertson's actions. But Arsenal's shape also meant they had a similar front five, with Xhaka and Odegaard in the half spaces. But here is where individual quality comes into the equation. Most of Arsenal's build-up was down their right, and Robertson would aggressively press Saka, and this would leave space in the half space. Robertson did this because there was Van Dijk who was covering him on this side, and he has the space and game reading to cover any movement by Odegaard in the half space and marshal the defence across. But if the Liverpool defence was dragged across, the switch of play became a legitimate option for Arsenal, as Trent's positioning was suspect throughout the game. So Martinelli or Tierney could make runs into the space and get into good situations. This pattern was also mirrored on the other side to give Saka space instead, but in the end, nothing came of this. Overall, it was a game that showed the importance of individual quality, as Liverpool were able to be clinical with their chances, whereas Arsenal fluffed theirs. It sets up an intriguing title race, with both City and Liverpool currently having their fate in their own hands. Arsenal, on the other hand, are still in an excellent position to finish 4th. But how do you think the top 4 will end up? Tactically, despite the loss, it was another match that showed why Arsenal are slowly moving in the right direction, and Arteta earns an 8. Klopp's tactics were solid, if unspectacular, but more than good enough to earn yet another win, with a 7. But what are your ratings? Drop them down below. And if you enjoyed this video, you may also enjoy the FMS Patreon. On Patreon, you'll get early access to videos, exclusive videos, as well as the ability to vote on various polls and so much more. It's a great way to support the channel, and it is now cheaper than ever. All you have to do is head over to patreon.com/footballmadesimple, or press the card in the top right or the end card at the end of this video. And a special thanks to my patrons, including Relu, Edwin, and Ref. But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.